sur cette histoire de la presse aujourd'hui, à l'effet qu'il y a une base canadienne au Koweït qui aurait été visée par une frappe iranienne. Il n'y aurait pas de militaire canadien qui aurait été blessé, mais quand même, est-ce que vous pouvez nous confirmer que c'est bel et bien arrivé, ça?
Maintenant, je n'ai pas l'information nécessaire pour confirmer l'histoire-là, mais la situation dans le Moyen-Orient, c'est très au sérieux. C'est pas seulement pour les Canadiens, Canadiennes dans la région, mais pour tout le monde. Donc, on va continuer de surveiller la situation et de s'assurer que les Canadiens, Canadiens ont les options nécessaires de quitter la région en total.
Do you have an update on assistance for the Gulf states?
I will have an update at lunch when Minister Sarai and I do a press avail relating to humanitarian aid for the region. I will say that I have been in close contact with every country that has been involved in some way by the Iranian retaliatory strikes, and I will continue to reach out to them as they are to me in order to pursue a diplomatic path forward. That's Canada's effort that we are making on the international stage now. And if I were to take a step back and talk about our foreign policy goals in the region, they are threefold. One, diplomacy and de-escalation. Two, humanitarian aid. And I will be making an announcement with Secretary Sarai shortly. And three is consular support and ensuring that there are options for Canadians to leave. So those are the three capsules of our foreign policy right now in terms of the Middle East. As I said in French just now, it's an extremely serious situation. We are working not only for the benefit of Canadians in the region, but also for the effort towards de-escalation as a whole.
At what point does Canada start calling for a ceasefire?
The work that we're doing with Oman, with Qatar, with UAE, with Saudi Arabia, with Jordan, to name a few countries, and I shouldn't leave off the list Bahrain because we co-sponsored a UN resolution with Bahrain and a number of other countries at the United Nations yesterday. The work that I'm doing with all of those countries is to identify off-ramps and to ensure that de-escalation occurs. Your question is about the ultimate goal of those diplomatic efforts. We are taking this one step at a time to ensure that civilian lives are preserved and that humanitarianism is at the forefront of the discussions. That's why de-escalation is so very important. And of course, we stand with the Iranian people during all of this, and in particular, ensuring that their lives are not continually repressed in a way that violates their human rights over and over again. And that has been Canada's foreign policy stance for at least 15 years since we curtailed diplomatic relations with Iran.
Avez-vous l'impression que ce sera une guerre longue et courte? Avez-vous l'impression que ce sera une guerre courte ou longue?
Bien sûr, ça c'est la question du jour, bien sûr, parce qu'on veut avoir la diplomatie, une solution politique, pas militaire. Mais on doit prendre la situation étape par étape. Ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle on va continuer avec la diplomatie, l'aide humanitaire et l'appui pour les Canadiens, Canadiennes dans la région. Mais bien sûr, pour moi, comme ministre des Affaires étrangères, la priorité et d'avoir la diplomatie pas seulement avec les pays dans la région, mais aussi avec les pays du G7. J'ai parlé avec mes homologues du G7 fréquemment et on va avoir une rencontre à Paris le 24-25 mars. Donc, je vais avoir les conversations nécessaires à ce temps-là aussi. Merci beaucoup. As I just mentioned in French, we will be meeting as G7 countries in Paris in a very short time period, and at that time, we will be having a full-fledged conversation about the diplomatic efforts relating to the war. In the meantime, next week I will be traveling abroad to continue the diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalation and ensuring that the Iranian people's integrity and human rights are protected and respected, and that international law is upheld. Thank you very much.
Because it's a provincial authority, and so the Musqueam deal is bilateral between the federal government and Musqueam, and so it's not about private property rights, it's about sitting down, continuing discussions. The other thing I would note is the other two agreements is the fisheries and the marine stewardship, so that opportunity to sit down as decision makers at the table.
Do you understand how people are concerned after the Coquitlam deal? There's a lot of buzz in BC about this, and
there's a lot of misinformation, fear-mongering from bad actors, but at the end of the day, it's a bilateral agreement between Musqueam and the federal government.
And what does it mean that the government has a responsibility to communicate more clearly then, given that there is so much misinformation going on here?
Yes, and we are continuing to communicate, and so more information we'll be putting out, plain language to make sure people understand what these agreements are versus title agreements versus modern treaties. So more information to come.
Thanks, everybody. Consulted. Why wasn't David Eby consulted or briefed at all?
Minister Chartrand, some Alberta chiefs have met with the King and they raised the issue of Alberta separatism and what they see as threats to their treaties with the Crown. How important of an issue is this?
Well, if it's important to First Nations leadership, it's obviously important, I think, to the collective.
But when it comes to Alberta separatism, them raising that to the Crown, what do you think of that?
I think as rights holders and under treaties, it's important to listen to the chiefs. That's, the purpose of the treaties is to ensure that they have voice. And the treaties are also protected under Section 35 of the Constitution. So I think we have to keep that in focus. Thank you.
There are going to be announcements today.
Steel tariffs right now. We know that they're talking about resume. We have Prime Minister Law about it. What kind of update can you give us?
When it comes to steel, our goal right now is to make sure that we help our steel workers. That's what we've been doing. I've been in contact with Algoma and with the FASCO and with all the different steel plants across the country, and we have a good plan.
But what about when it comes from the U.S. side about lifting those steel tariffs? Obviously, that would help the workers as well.
Of course, but that's the work of Dominic LeBlanc, and that's why you ask him questions.
We did ask him questions, and he refused to stop. What is the government approach when it comes to getting these steel tariffs lifted?
You just need to make him answer.
Thank you.
L'Agence internationale de l'énergie veut qu'on libère davantage de capacité. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire au Canada? Est-ce qu'on a la capacité même d'augmenter ces réserves-là pour
Ben nous, on est déjà à un niveau, on est un exportateur net de pétrole. C'est ça la réalité. Et donc, on a déjà été capable d'investir dans les infrastructures de transmission, dans le fond. On a été capable de bâtir TMX, bonne nouvelle. Mais je pense qu'il y a une bonne collaboration qui se fait au niveau international et le Canada va jouer son rôle.
Dans l'industrie du pétrole, l'agence...
Minister Chartrand, some Alberta chiefs have met with the King and they raised the issue of Alberta separatism and what they see as threats to their treaties with the Crown. How important of an issue is this?
Well, if it's important to First Nations leadership, it's obviously important, I think, to the collective.
But when it comes to Alberta separatism, them raising that to the Crown, what do you think of that?
I think as rights holders and under treaties, it's important to listen to the chiefs. That's, the purpose of the treaties is to ensure that they have voice. And the treaties are also protected under Section 35 of the Constitution. So I think we have to keep that in focus. Thank you.
There are going to be announcements today.
Can you talk to us about Lori Inloud, about bringing her over to the party, what MPs were involved, what happened? She said that discussions started in December with certain MPs. Can you elaborate?
Not really, other than to say that we're very happy that she has chosen the party. We obviously have a very strong emphasis on the Arctic, on making lives better for people who live there, and on strengthening Arctic sovereignty.
Sur le projet de loi de Mme Kwan, finalement, il y a quand même quelques libéraux qui ont voté en faveur de son projet de loi. Oui. Est-ce que ça vous déçoit?
Ben, comme vous savez, les votes sur des projets de loi privés sont libres. Évidemment, ça arrive à toutes les fois qu'il y a.
Pourquoi vous étiez
in the past, you've alluded to there being.
Je pense que la ministre Anand a bien expliqué pourquoi.
In the past, you've alluded to the fact that you said the Liberals were talking to more MPs who are unsatisfied with their parties about joining yours. Where does that stand right now? Is that still the case?
Oh, I think very much so. I think that Canadians who live in conservative ridings look at their MPs and wish they would spend more time proposing solutions, participating in this great project on which we've embarked to build Canada more strong and to continue to diversify our supply chains, to continue to develop markets abroad, and to continue to push our economy.
Are you talking about NDP MPs?
No, I thought you said conservatives.
But I said just in general. But what about NDP MPs?
Well, I don't know. I mean, NDP MPs, those constituents, I think, feel much the same. That their constituents are asking them to participate in this great project upon which we've embarked.
Juste en français là-dessus, vous avez combien de députés conservateurs dans votre mire?
Ben, il n'y a pas de mire.
Your government's announcing new crime legislation today. Why is your government announcing more crime bills when you've already had problems getting that over the finish line?
Well, I don't know that we've had problems. We've passed C12 through the House. We're about to pass C9, we've passed C14. In fact, this is the most ambitious crime agenda ever undertaken by a government in Canada, and we're very, very proud of it. The police community, as well as victims groups, are telling us that police need better tools to deal with extortion, child pornography. These are things that conservatives used to advocate for. Now they're hopelessly divided on the concept of lawful access. In the G7, we're the only country without a lawful access regime. We want to do it responsibly, but we want to do it. And we're hoping conservatives can overcome their internal divisions and support us.
Avec vos votes transfuges, là, est-ce que vous pouvez nous confirmer, là, vous avez quasiment une majorité, après les partiels, c'est très possible. Est-ce que vous êtes au pouvoir jusqu'en 2029?
Aujourd'hui, nous sommes un gouvernement minoritaire et j'aborde chaque journée comme le leader d'un gouvernement minoritaire.
Est-ce que le 172 est assez confortable pour vous pour évacuer tout scénario d'élection?
Pardon?
Est-ce qu'une majorité de 172 serait assez confortable pour vous pour évacuer tout scénario d'élection?
Longtemps, j'ai appris à ne pas répondre à des questions hypothétiques. On prend rien pour acquis.
On C4, which is back before the House this morning, the Senate has sought to amend the political privacy position. What is the position of the government on that? Will you accept those amendments, or what are you doing?
Well, I think the position of the House of Commons, we'll see later today, obviously, but is that matters pertaining to the Elections Act belong to elected representatives, and I think will be...
no one's disputing that. The Senate is arguing that these provisions are insufficient. They do not protect Canadians' privacy in the hands of political parties.
These provisions are to ensure that Parliament remains the custodian of privacy pertaining to political parties. As I think you've seen in the motion, the government will be bringing forward some amendments pertaining to privacy and political parties later in this session. I think that's the best way to go. Have elected people govern the Elections Act.
In a year, you've only managed to get 6 bills through royal assent. What does that say about your legislative track record?
I come here every day, and some days it's like it's all blocked up, and what are you going to do about it? And some days I hear you're passing legislation really, really quickly. I just get up and do my job every day. We work with the opposition as best we can. We debate things, and We've passed some very significant things through the House of Commons, and I'm hoping we can pass some more.
The new bill about warrantless powers for police and other law enforcement we're expecting today, what does that compromise or change compared to Bill C2 that there was complaints about that it was too broad?
Again, Canada is the only country in the G7 without a lawful access regime. You're hearing issues pertaining to extortion, pertaining to child pornography. These are very serious issues. The government has taken them very seriously. We've solicited from Parliament a mandate to move forward on these in several different ways, in C2 and later on. The government is very unified in wanting to deal with this issue. It's the opposition, unfortunately, who's been hopelessly divided.
So what did you do to try and get it passed?
Well, we'll see the bill and we'll watch the debate. Merci.
Écoutez, je suis pas, vous savez, la loi de l'impôt limite ce que je peux dire. Je vais m'en tenir à ce que j'ai dit en Chambre, mais on cherche effectivement une solution dans l'intérêt des citoyens de Laval. Mais je voulais vous dire, il y avait quand même une bonne nouvelle aujourd'hui qu'on a. Vous savez, il y a beaucoup de choses qui se passent dans le monde, mais pour les gens qui nous regardent à la maison sur les frais pour les qui sont chargés pour les chèques sans fonds. Vous savez, on a annoncé une des mesures dans l'abordabilité que ces frais-là, maintenant, ne pourraient pas être au-delà de 10 $. Donc, on a mis un maximum. On peut penser que c'est anodin, mais ça touche une personne sur 3 au Canada. C'est 600 millions par année que les Canadiens vont épargner parce qu'évidemment, les frais sans fonds avaient augmenté au cours des années. Donc là, on a décidé d'agir pour vraiment protéger. Vous savez, c'est souvent des gens aussi qui sont assez vulnérables ou des gens qui, par mégarde, n'auraient pas les fonds suffisants. Mais là, en mettant ça à 10 $, on aide vraiment les gens. Comme je voyais, un Canadien sur 3, c'est énorme. Et maintenant, il va y avoir des règles pour encadrer. Ça fait partie un peu des mesures qu'on a dit. Vous savez, dans l'abordabilité, c'est toutes sortes de mesures comme celle-là. Mais quand vous les mettez ensemble, ça s'accumule. Des gens qui, par exemple, déposent un chèque n'avaient pas nécessairement les fonds pour couvrir le chèque. Ben là, on a agi pour limiter ça. I just wanted to say maybe in English, so because I know your colleagues are so looking, but there was a piece of news. I know today Canadians, many things going on, but the fees that were charged for non-sufficient funds, as part of the number of affordability measures, we decided to side with Canadians and to cap that at $10. And I know that people may say, okay, but is that something big? Well, I would say it's 1 Canadian out of 3, which is affected by that. It's $600 million per year that people were spending in a way just for having non-sufficient funds. So we decided to act to protect Canadians at a time where every little thing helped families. So that's one of the measures that is coming into force today.
Mais juste pour revenir sur la base, quelles sont les options, sans aller dans les détails?
J'ai pas la liberté pour vous en dire plus en fonction de la loi. Je suis limité. Je suis limité dans ce que je peux vous dire. Comme je vous dis, on travaille à des solutions, mais vous savez, la loi de l'impôt impose un cadre très particulier en ce qui concerne la divulgation d'informations sur des matières qui concernent des contribuables. Donc, c'est pour ça que je l'ai fait en Chambre. Et le moment venu, je serai en mesure d'expliquer en Chambre les mesures. Oui, merci.
The minister of Finance, don't like talking to us.
But Prime Minister is busy. Working for Canada, building Canada.
Avez-vous été briefé sur une attaque sur un camp canadien au Koweït? Qu'est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire là-dessus?
Écoutez, j'ai vu comme vous les informations, mais je ne peux pas vous en dire plus parce que je n'ai pas plus d'informations que ce que j'ai vu dans la presse. Merci tout le monde, on va se revoir aujourd'hui. Je vais être à faire des questions alors.